Hi, I'm Kyle Roberts, and when I started designing classes, they looked fairly standard, but I began to wonder what was actually possible. It started with your typical slide and a thought. I thought, wouldn't it be nice if the layout related to the lesson somehow? That is, if the layout supplied a line of thought that followed the lesson. Here's what I came up with. I came up with moving fluid layouts. Here's one from my Introduction to Logic class. As you'll see, the layout's actually giving a line of thought or just a way of progressing through the information for the student. This led me to start illustrating concepts. For example, this one on how philosophers see the world differently. Everything in this lesson is really just geared towards making one point, showing them, illustrating how philosophers see the world differently. Now, some of the illustrations were simple, like this one on the difference between determinism and indeterminism, and that middle position between the two, the libertarian position. Others were more complex. This one about the mechanics of evaluating a philosophy. And in it, I talk about what a system is and how it pours in some claims about certain things, what they know, what they think, what exists, how those things relate, almost as a cog does in a machine, to what's true, and how those things in turn what's an evaluation of a system. And all those things are just really just trying to show the student what it is that makes for an evaluation. Part of that is I talk about the problem of postmodernism in this lesson, because postmodernism sees all these different systems as self-contained. I noticed, though, that the lessons were becoming more story-like. And the more the story became filled out, the more it seemed that people connected with the ideas. Here's a segment of one of my lessons on what is philosophy, and it's told through the story of a plant, as if philosophy was a plant. At this point in the lesson, I tell the students, well, imagine philosophy as a seed. It starts to germinate. And what are some of the problems with understanding what is philosophy? And I say, well, here's one way to overcome those hurdles. For every philosophy plant, we notice that it covers three basic types of information, I tell them: metaphysics, value, and epistemology. And for a little bit, I just kind of delve into what are these different branches? What is epistemology? And I start kind of unfolding it. But as I unfold it, as I'm telling them the information, it's always coming through these types of illustrations, this type of story development. This is probably the most robust, I don't even know how to put it, but this is really where it's going, or this is where my work is moving. Almost a graphic novel is how you might describe it. This one's I call Philosophy Illustrated. And in it, I'm telling or retelling the story of Plato's Cave in a contemporary context. In my version of Plato's Cave, I start the story by telling them that this man's story, or the man's story that we're following, is like most people. Insofar as that person knew where he was raised, but that doesn't really give him ample knowledge to know where he's actually from. Yeah, there's an orphanage that's part of his story, the one down on 9th Avenue and 36th Street. But that really doesn't get at what he is and who he is. I also say that, some people think they know something by looking at their watch. So if you're trying to figure out who this man is by what the times are like, well, it's a time and a place when people live right atop of one another, but a whole lot went unnoticed. And one of these things, I tell them, that went unnoticed is this man's life. I also tell them that there's nothing really specific about the orphanage itself, the one that started this whole story about this man. except for the fact that it's on the street with the largest sewer drain on it. And that sewer drain was a symbol of the city. It was one of those, the mayor comes out and breaks the ground and tells you how this is prosperity and what the future holds. But for this city, when the future finally comes, the only thing that seemed to do a good business was the orphanage. In the span of one evening, they might have 3 or 4 baskets that would arrive on the doorstep. And all of this information, all of these little bits of the graphic novel are just really trying to get the student involved, wanting to try and figure out, well, who is this man? What is his story? And all of that is really building a bigger bridge towards trying to help get people involved in doing philosophical questions or approaching philosophical issues. And that's what this lesson is about. Because visual narratives spoke to people, giving them a way to connect to the information, it's become a part of what I take teaching to be and part of what I do. Here's one last example from a promo I made for the Newton Institute of Technology. And this is really just showing that it is part of what I do. Thinking about taking classes online at Newton, but you're not really sure how the whole online education thing really works? Well, if you have about a minute, I can show you everything you need in order to get you on your feet and running. From what you need to overcome that first hurdle of registering for classes, to helping you untangle some of the complexities that exist with taking classes online. The first step is simply logging on to newtoninstitutetech.org. There you'll find a list of the courses that are being offered this semester. Look through, find some that you like. After you find the courses that you like, simply fill out our easy 2-in-1 application and course registration form under the Application tab at the top. And within 2 to 3 business days, you'll receive an invite to where your first online class is going to meet. Once you follow the link, simply click on the First Time Users tab, fill in your email address, get a password, and then log on. You'll find a classroom that looks something like this. Well, that just gives you a little sample of some of the work that I've been doing. And I want to tell you thank you so much for watching. And if there's any way that I can help you in answering any questions or anything like that, please feel free to contact me. My phone number is 770-866-9422. And you can always drop me an email at kyle.newtontech@gmail.com. Thank you so much.